Good afternoon and welcome to the Pompey Politics Podcast. It's our 2026 Copnor Hustings. I'm Ian Tiny Morris.
And I'm Simon Sansbury. Good afternoon. That sounds wrong. I'm so used to saying good evening.
Well, yes, but eventually, after probably one of the slowest starts ever, all of a rush, we suddenly ended up doing 3 hustings in 5 days. And today we focus on the north of the city in the ward of Copnor.
Yes. So we have 2 of the candidates for Copnor Ward joining us today. And I'll introduce those in a second. But I'll just quickly explain before I do just how our hustings work and how we've invited candidates. So I'm just going to go through that quickly now. So we've held hustings for Portsmouth local elections since 2022. And this year, for logistical reasons, we have invited candidates standing for parties which achieved at least 1% of the citywide vote share in either the local or general elections in 2024. You can check those figures from the Portsmouth Council website. In practice, this would have meant the Conservatives, Green Party, Labour, Liberal Democrats, Portsmouth Independent Party and Reform. About 2 weeks before the close of nominations, we contacted all of the incumbents that we knew were restanding, the parties themselves and any candidates we were already aware of. And after the close of nominations, when they were announced on April 10th, we also repeated this to include the candidates from the major parties for whom we could find contact details. Some, sadly, we couldn't get in touch with. It's fair to say the responses this year have been a little bit lower than previous years. But in regards to Copnor, so when we reached out to all of the candidates there, we can confirm that both Reform and Green confirmed that their Copnor candidates would not be able to take part. And we did have an expression of interest initially from Paul Oakley-Cleef from the Liberal Democrats, although later we weren't able to secure a date that we suggested with one of the dates that we'd suggested. So how do our hustings work? Each candidate has a 2-minute opening and a 90-second closing speech. All of our questions are provided to the candidates in advance because we want them to hear their best answer rather than just their ability to perform with a camera in front of them. We'll randomise the answers in which order, although in practice with 2 candidates, that means we'll just be alternating who goes first and who goes second. Each candidate has 2 minutes to answer every question. When both candidates have answered, there's an optional 30-second rebuttal. However, we caution against the overuse of this, just to have the last word, because voters tend not to like it very much, and understandably. And just to confirm the full list of candidates for Copnor Ward, we've got Andy Butterworth from Labour, who's joining us today, Tamara Groan from the Green Party, Carl Inman from Reform, Paul Oakley-Cleef from the Liberal Democrats, and Ben Swann from Conservatives, who are also joining us today. So good afternoon to you both. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So in our highly technical coin toss that took place before we went live, we agreed the order of the speeches, and going first is Andy. Andy, are you ready for your opening speech?
I am.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, and just before, sorry, I go into that, if anybody is watching in portrait and wants to watch in landscape or vice versa, I'm going to pop the links in the chat just so you've got the links to the other streams so you can watch them in both ways. So, sorry, Andy, away you go.
Well, thank you, Simon. Thank you, Ian. And thank you, Ben. I am, as far as I am aware, the only local candidate who lives in Copnor Ward who is standing in this Copnor election. That doesn't necessarily make me a perfect candidate, but I think it gives me an advantage. I've lived on Copnor Road since 1998, and before that I lived in Laburnham Grove, but at the London Road end. I know Anchorage Park because my football team played football there, and my youngest son, Ewan, was in a playgroup. I know Laburnham Grove. I was a candidate in Nelson Ward in 1988, believe it or not. My 3 children grew up all in Portsmouth. They're all Pompey supporters, despite my northern accent, and they are all Pompey through and through. My youngest son has Down syndrome, and that was a turning point in my life. And it's one of the reasons I want to stand for election. I've been through the care system. He's now 27, and he is the light of my life in some ways. He's certainly changed my view on a lot of things. And so knowing the care system, knowing how difficult it can be, but how joyous it also can be, I want to give back to the community that supported me in so many ways, and want to make and leave Copnor a better place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andy. Beautifully to time. Ben, you ready for your opening speech?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, where you go.
I've had the absolute privilege to represent the fantastic people of Copnor and Anchorage Park for 8 years now, and every day has been a blessing. And every one of those days in the 8 years that I've worked hard to help residents see their community improved by bringing investments in for road improvements, such as potholes, which I know is a big issue, park upgrades, such as returning the toilets to College Park, a safer dog gate in College Park, and upgrades to the play equipment. I've had Kenyon Road resurfaced, which is something that everybody else said was too difficult and would never happen. I've had CCTV installed in antisocial behaviour and fly tipping hotspots across the ward. I've secured hundreds of thousands of pounds for vital road safety improvements. I've secured funds for Anchorage Lodge to be refurbed and to add dog poo bins in the ward. I support local businesses and vulnerable residents, and I fight tooth and nail for residents on planning applications that are tearing our community apart. All of this is a matter of public record. Don't take my word for it, you can see it for yourself. I've been attacked with vicious lies and misrepresentations, and other parties have tried to intimidate and destroy me on a personal level because they cannot attack my clear record of service and delivery for residents. But I assure you, I will not be silenced or bullied by these people. Being able to discuss my record and speak about the ward is an opportunity, to be sure, and I do wonder why anybody would not want to take this opportunity. I thank Simon and Ian for inviting me on and for Andy taking part too. As I said, it is an absolute honour and a privilege to represent Copnor and Anchorage Park, and I hope the residents will continue to stand with me going forward.
Thank you very much, Ben.
So thank you, gentlemen, to very rousing and very heartfelt opening speeches. So if I can start with the first question, which is, what are the top 3 issues that people in the ward are bringing to you, and how might you fix them? And can I ask that first to Ben, please?
Absolutely. So the first issue is HMOs. I know we're going to talk about that later, but I've been saying for a decade now, even before I was elected, that the percentage ratio needs to be reduced to 5%. Others have now jumped on the bandwagon and are attempting to claim it as their own, but that is the truth. We also need a change in national legislation, particularly the Town and Country Act 1997. We need changes such as things like the effects on utilities, which is water pressure and sewage, and effects on house prices to be made national material considerations. We also need a mechanism whereby local planning authorities can apply for special planning statuses where there are exceptional geographic circumstances, like we have here in Portsmouth. We are the only island city in the country. I've written to our local MP, who I know says she's working on behalf of residents on HMOs to lobby her to take the lead on this in Parliament. And I hope to receive a response soon. But it's an issue that's not going away, and it's one that needs to be addressed locally and nationally, and that's what I've been trying to do. And I hope everybody will join in the pressure at both national and local level and actually get where we need to. The next issue is road safety. It's a frequent frustration for residents. The roads in Copnor are a rat running nightmare due to drivers wanting to get from one side of the island to the other, so they can avoid Stubbington Avenue, Copnor Road junction. And we saw that highlighted in spectacular fashion during the closure of the Eastern Road. We need a road system that prevents rat running, and where possible, we need, where that isn't possible, rather, we need measures to prevent the high speeds that we're seeing on the local roads. There's a lot of work to be done, including on parking, which is the other issue. And it is something I am working very hard on at the moment, but they are the key issues that I hear regularly.
Thank you, Ben. A little bit over there, but we'll give you a bit of latitude there on the three answers. So,
Apologies.
Andy, that's all right, no worries. So, Andy, when you've been out on the doorsteps, what are the people of Copnor telling you are the top three issues?
Yeah, the Portsmouth Labour Party have three priorities in this election. We want a greener, safer, cleaner city. In terms of cleanliness, we need to clamp down on fly tipping. It's going on all over the city. 1,092 fly tipping incidents reported up to March 2024. A year before, it was only 751. So that's the first thing. Ben's talked about that. I will carry on that work. Second, the safer city. Crossing the road is difficult and dangerous at times. When you're responsible for a disabled person, you notice this particularly. Old people, I'm 70, I'm not getting any younger. Crossing the road can be very difficult. So, in the 2022 Highway Code Amendment, there is a route to safer roads, the side road zebra. It's very, very cheap. It gives us health benefits as well, because we don't walk enough. It's for children, it's quite dangerous. Side road zebras are very cheap. They're allowed. They're being pioneered by councils up and down the country. I think Portsmouth could do the same. And third, a Copnor councillor needs to pay attention to the Copnor burner. In the past, we've had a situation where we've campaigned against the burner, but now the toxicity is out of control. I'll say a bit more about it later, but thank you.
No, brilliant, Andy. Thank you both for that. Simon.
Okay, thank you very much. So our next question, traffic and parking, frequent frustrations from residents. How would you tackle them? And that first to Andy, please.
Well, traffic and parking is not easy, and there are not simple solutions. You'll find people in the locality who say there are not. First of all, there are 90,000 vehicles on Portsea Island. 90% of the time they're not moving. So it's clear to me that what we need is to prioritise walking, cycling, buses, taxis, everything. And residents need to choose driving when it is the best outcome for them, but we need to clear up space on the roads. And also we need to maybe consider parking outside the city for groups like people who come into the football. Why are they coming in with their cars right into the centre of the city? Why can't we have them park outside? We need to use more of the trains. We need to use more of all sorts of different methods of transport. As the Portsmouth Cycling Campaign say, we need to share the road and take consideration of each other. It's not an easy situation. We have a situation where we are going to see a lot less pollution in in the next few years because of more electric cars, but that doesn't completely solve the problem of congestion.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ben, same to you.
So, as I said before, the roads in Copnor are very problematic. I discussed the rat running issues that we saw that were massively increased during the Eastern Road closure, and we've seen the effect on the road surfaces. The potholes have been filled mercifully, but it's something that cannot be ignored. There is obviously now going to be a one-way feasibility study for Kensington Road and Chelmsford Road, which was the main rat run route. And I should clarify, it is a legally required feasibility study, not a survey, as it was incorrectly stated by another candidate in Copnor in yet another attempt to defame me. But we need to go further. That needs to be the key that locks the door, that unlocks the door to further road reviews and to really kind of bring in a system that is going to work for residents and is going to work for the area. There's 6 schools in the immediate Copnor area, 7 if you include Admiral Lord Nelson, and the roads are simply not safe enough for the movement of residents that we see on a daily basis. I'm quick to get potholes resolved when I see them or when I'm made aware of them, like I did recently in Wallace Road, Kensington Road, Lyndhurst, Belgravia Road, Bedhampton Road. But we need to have a better focus. I noticed the road surface in Mayfield Road is now coming away. We cannot. Residents are paying their council tax. They need to see value for that money. As far as parking goes, parking has always been a problem, but it's now been elevated due to the new parking zone in Powers Court, which has moved the misery further south. I've asked for 3 areas in Copnor to be included in a resident parking zone, which I hope will help, but more needs to be done and residents need to be listened to.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ben. I'll just check. Does anybody need to make use of the optional rebuttal on that question at all? No one's leaping.
Perfect.
Ian?
On to me then. So, what would you do to breathe new life into the shopping areas of Portsmouth, or is the high street as we know it already dead? Ben?
This is a difficult issue. There's no getting away from that. Shopping trends have changed quickly in the past 2 to 3 decades, with the increasing trend of out of shopping destinations, and then also subsequently with the meteoric rise of online shopping, and obviously that's something that greatly increased during the pandemic, and doesn't look like it's going to be slowing down anytime soon. That said, I'm a great advocate for local businesses, as some of my motions at full council that have passed prove. We're blessed in Copnor with a fantastic shopping area which boasts world-class butcher, Astor's. We've got Beckeries, which is one of the best bakeries and patisseries in the city. We have a vintage toy shop, restaurants, takeaways, dog groomers, beauty salons, bike repair shop. The closest thing I've ever seen to Copnor is Greenwich Village in New York. It's got that kind of close community feel and has a centre to it. But and yes, sadly, we are seeing the gradual creep of barbers and vape, and there is a vape shop appeared too, which I'm not happy about. We need to be doing absolutely everything we can to support and promote these businesses. And we need to be ensuring the lowest possible business rates to ensure businesses to stay on our high street. And we should also be allowing free parking where possible to encourage local and passing trade. The only way to keep brilliant local businesses is to support them. We can't afford to lose them, because once they're gone, it's very unlikely they're ever going to return.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ben. So, Annie, can I ask the same question to yourself? What would you do to breathe life into the shopping districts, or is the high street itself already dead?
I don't think the high street is dead. I think I agree with Ben that Copnor Road in particular is a jewel, which is genuinely a happy place to go. The cherry trees, when they come out, It used to be at election time, but now it's a lot earlier. It is genuinely a happy place when you can sit outside at a cafe. And there's no place like it in Portsmouth, I don't think. The shops generally are very, very good. I personally shop at Assels. I get my bike repaired at GC Cycles. My son, my youngest son, Ewan, who has Down syndrome, has been helped enormously by Enable Ability, which isn't exactly a shop, but it's a social enterprise that helps disabled people. I do think in the rest of Portsmouth we have problems. Number one, people do not just have enough money in their pockets to spend. Number two, too many of the shops in Commercial Road, for example, have been left to go to rack and ruin. And they are in a disgusting state around the post office. It really is terrible. One thing I would do is I would support greengrocers, fruit sellers, any fresh food that's being sold in Charlotte Street Market, get them inside as well, and consider carefully how we're going to use the rest of the centre of the city.
Brilliant. Thank you, Andy. I'll just pause in case you seem to be in a very reasonable agreement, in which case I will throw you to Simon.
Okay. Thank you very much. So our next question. Voter turnout across the city varies significantly, within some wards repeatedly less than half of others. How can this be addressed? And I'll ask that first to Andy, please.
Well, this also is a very, very difficult question. I would say, number one, political parties have to deliver. They have to deliver. And for too long, we've gone through austerity, standards of living have gone down, wages haven't kept pace with inflation. And I think a symptom of all that is that people are getting disillusioned with politics. However, there are things that can be done. I think there is beginning to be a major problem of foreign money coming into politics and corrupting politics. Simple things that we need to do: automatic enrolment of voters by residents, votes at 16, extend ID, the ID card, the identification that you can have, make it more flexible, make voting more flexible. Why do we have to just have it on a Thursday? Maybe experiment with moving it to a weekend. And also, this is my personal view, although it's supported by a lot of Labour supporters and Labour Party members, I think we need a form of electoral reform. Single transferable vote would be my preference. At the moment, so many votes, you feel your vote is wasted, you feel you've got no say. I would support single transferable vote in local elections. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Ben?
We need to bring back decency to local politics. I mean, politics is an absolute sewer at the moment, particularly here in the city. Time and time again, we're seeing literature going out where parties lie and gaslight residents with empty promises and platitudes that they have no intention of delivering on and can't deliver on. It just seems it's all about money and grabbing power. I myself had a very nasty leaflet sent out by one of the parties who didn't even put their name on it, which caused massive upset to my family. And I know residents were outraged too, because they know me. They know exactly where I stand on the issues. And it's this sort of negative, nasty politics that just turns people off and leads not only to people distrusting politicians and elected officials, but arguably puts them at risk. It's actually been a deeply nasty campaign, and my wife and I have actually installed a CCTV system as a result. People shouldn't have to live like this just for wanting to represent people. As I say, I'd like to see dignity, respect, and integrity return to our political discourse. I fundamentally disagree with Labour and the Liberal Democrats on any number of issues, but I'm always polite and friendly because that's the right thing to do. It's the right way to act. I was brought up to treat people the way I want to be treated. But what I will say, and it's an old saying, but I think it's never been truer, that when people show you who they really are, believe them.
Thank you,
Okay.
Ben. I think that takes us on to our next question, which is, to what degree do you think national politics will affect this election? And which is more important, person or party? And can I ask that first to Ben?
I think at the moment, hugely, national politics overshadow local issues because that's the narrative that works for some parties. It's worrying that some people have been hoodwinked into believing that voting for a party locally can change an issue solely controlled at a national level. I know the relationship between local and national groups within a party varies from party to party, but certainly for my lot, we never hear from central party as far as instructions or pressure on any issues whatsoever. And I like that because I can speak with my voice and with my own views and be free to fight for residents on whatever issues they want me to do so. It's liberating and allows me the freedom residents demand. The big issue with the current dynamic is that you have candidates who can talk the talk on national issues, but have little to no knowledge on or interest actually in local issues, which is the whole crux of the local election. I also think the Westminster bubble is painfully out of touch with normal people, and it really shows right across the spectrum. I think local elections are definitely should be about the person, not the party. Actually, my choice would be we wouldn't have party politics in local elections. It should be who's working for you, who is speaking on your behalf, and who you want to continue fighting for you on the issues that matter to you. You know, who's standing up to be counted, who's there for residents, and who isn't. I think it's that simple.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ben. Same question to yourself, Andy.
Again, a very difficult question. I think my basic attitude is the voters are in charge. What the voters decide are the issues. What they decide, how they decide to make a choice between candidates is up to them. And that is the freedom of the ballot box. It's a secret ballot. Nobody should second guess. The worst kind of politician is the politician that blames the voters because they didn't get in. However, on the relationship between local and national, the idea of thinking globally and acting locally basically is what I believe. I think the Portsmouth Independent Party that put up candidates 2 years ago, last year, the year before, have been proved to be a complete fraud, a divisive fraud. They're basically joined the posh boys club, haven't they? And I don't think they have anything to say to Pompey people. I don't think they'll speak up for Pompey people. I think local issues that I concern about, my idea about side roads, zebras, cheap and easy way to improve road safety, clamping down on the Copnor burner, taxing the Copnor burner so that the council can use some of the revenue to improve recycling, etc., is the way to go. And finally, climate change affects us all. The science is clear. Portsmouth is in the front line of the war against climate change. We know that is true. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. I'm just going to pause for a second and then throw you to Simon.
Okay. Thank you very much. So moving on. HMOs, good, bad or ugly? Would you seek to improve them, limit them, or stop them altogether? And first to Andy, please.
Right. Thank you very much. My initial thought is HMOs are a symptom, not a cause. They're a symptom of a housing crisis. I was lucky enough at the start of my working life, when as a young teacher, to have a council flat, and I managed to get a council transfer when I moved to Gosport, and then I was able to invest in a house when I moved to Portsmouth with my wife, and the rest is history, so to speak. However, HMOs can be a blight. Poor regulation, lack of enforcement, oversaturation, these are issues. What we need is tighter controls, stronger guidance. Stephen, Morgan, Amanda, Martin have developed forums on this. They've talked to residents. They have lobbied government. And I'm quite hopeful that in the next 3 years, legislation will come in force that will affect HMOs. In Pompey, they've risen from 2018 to 23 from 3,900 to over 6,000, and it's clear that's a difficulty. However, I have to say, my youngest son, Ewan, lives in an HMO with wonderful carers in supported accommodation in Southsea. So HMOs are not all bad, and they are sometimes absolutely necessary. And teachers and nurses, etc., who can't afford a house need decent accommodation, and sometimes the only way they can get that is an HMO. Sorry, I'm rushing a bit, but there's a lot to say, a lot to do. Thank you.
Simon?
Sorry, Ben, same question, sorry.
Okay, largely bad. I mean, obviously HMOs have their place. However, it's got way out of hand in the city. My reasons for saying that is we desperately need family housing, especially when we have local families housed in hotels whilst the housing stock is being reduced on a weekly basis. We have tens of properties sitting empty across the city, gutted, waiting for developers to continue working on them, and they serve no functional purpose for months on end. We have upwards of 500 empty rooms in HMOs across the city. All you need to do is look out for the boards. FICA or FICA, I think, is one of the main people. They're everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And yet PCC keeps pumping out more approvals. We're seeing a marked increase in antisocial behaviour, including violence and drug offences linked to some of these properties. An unsustainable increase in cars because, contrary to what planning believe, the magic bike shed doesn't magically stop people from wanting to have a car. And when you're seeing 8 and 9 bed HMOs, you then add in the partners of the people staying there who do stay at these HMOs because there is no actual enforcement despite what is claimed. You can be looking at circa 16 extra cars for one property. And also, let's dispel this myth that HMOs are the most affordable housing. It's a fallacy. I encourage anyone who has the time or the inclination to look through the general listings of properties in the city, and you'll see that that just isn't true.
Okay, thank you. Was there any need for a rebuttal or anything else to say on HMOs? I can appreciate it's a touchy subject. There's a lot to say on it. No? Okay, Ian?
What would you see the council doing to combat knife crime and violent offences in Portsmouth? And could I offer that to Ben first?
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to see central government review the sentencing guidelines so that if you break the law, you actually get a punishment commensurate to the crime you've committed. If you make sentencing stronger for crimes such as shoplifting, carrying offensive weapons, assault, sex crimes, and any number of other crimes, I promise you will see a drop in the number of these crimes. Equally, the local authority can also do more to improve the local offering for young people, so they have alternatives to hanging around streets and parks. For example, the bowling club that sadly folded in College Park presented a golden opportunity for some more community facilities, and that was an opportunity that was missed. We have to take these opportunities when they present themselves, otherwise we are just compounding the issue.
Perfect. So thank you, Ben. So Andy, knife crime. What should the council be doing?
Yeah, I do agree with Ben on sentencing guidelines, but I do want to note that since 2010, 20,000 police officers and 20,000 PCSOs and backroom staff have been taken out of frontline policing under the Tories. Labour is making strides to increase the number of police on the streets, but what needs to happen is more neighbourhood policing. There are rogue operators operating within Copnor streets, in Copnor shops, I suspect. Similar maybe to the shops on London Road. So we need better that have been taken down. We need better coordination between agencies. And as Ben said, I think we need investment in youth services and youth activities for the young people. Yeah.
Thank you, Andy. I'll just pause. And Simon.
Thank you very much. Okay, so LGR, so local government reorganisation. Just for those listeners who perhaps aren't up to speed, the plans from the government is that Portsmouth will join a larger unitary authority that comes into effect in 2028, with the councillors actually for that body being elected next year. LGR, is it a good thing or a bad thing for Portsmouth? And that's first to Andy, please.
Okay. Basically, the proof will be in the pudding, so to speak, whether or not it turns out to be good or bad. My feeling is that if we want to drive regional growth, include economic growth, including remember, a large part of the Copnor ward includes industrial premises. Airbus, for example, 1,000 skilled jobs. It's essential that the whole area becomes a motor for economic growth. I think being part of a wider area will save money, will improve services, should empower communities. Obviously, whether this comes about depends on whether people have goodwill, they try and make it work. At the moment, there is so much negativity from other political parties that it's difficult to see. It's difficult. It's going to be a difficult birth. Let's put it that way.
Fantastic, brilliantly to time. Thank you, Ben. LGR.
I think the elected mayoralty portion presents a massive opportunity for investment in the area and opens a lot of doors that previously would have remained closed to us. But I do lament the loss of Portsmouth City Council as an entity. And I do feel that it's a tragedy being forced on the city by a government that is just disconnected from the lives of ordinary Pompey people. We're fiercely proud of our city and its traditions. I'm a traditionalist first and foremost. And I think our history is a vital part of our DNA as a city. My cousin John Marshall was Lord Mayor of Portsmouth and leader of the City Council. And so my family's history is entwined with that of the city. And I hope one day myself to be Lord Mayor. But, what will that look like? Will it ever really be the same as what it is now? I also think there's a real clear and present danger to the city if central government force us into a position where we're bankrupt on day one of the new authority, which, we're still waiting for information as to how the finances are going to work. The clock is ticking. And this really, really does concern me, and I know it concerns residents as well. So it needs to be clarified, and residents need to know where the land lies with this.
Okay, fantastic. Any rebuttals on LGR, anyone? No? Okay,
Perfect.
Ian.
Can I make one
sorry,
point?
Andy. Yes, sorry.
Can I make one point that, from what I understand, there are 2,800 people on the waiting list for council houses. There are 17,000 council homes in Portsmouth, but quite a number of them are outside of the city, aren't they? I mean, it's a small point, but it would give more control of Portsmouth over where we pay for some of these houses, don't we? Am I right? Thank you.
Ben, I don't know whether you know the answer to that. Are you talking about the ones out? Do you mean off the island, as in? Do you mean like the
we're talking about
housing, for example, in Lee Park and stuff like that?
Yeah, we're talking about Lee Park. I mean, it seems to me that. Sorry, my point is that already there's a part of Havant, which is effectively part of Portsmouth, and for Portsmouth, which is the big area in this new council, will have a leading role in this, and Portsmouth will not be shrinking. We'll have more influence in the local area, more influence on economic development, more influence on the region. And it'll be a region of what will the total population be? It'll be a region of 583,000 people, which will give us much more leverage at a national level and a Hampshire level. So, I mean, I might be completely wrong about this. I've been wrong about a lot of things in the past. I was wrong about Brexit in 1975, but that's a long story. I think give it a fair wind, give it a chance, be positive. This is an opportunity for Portsmouth, as far as I can see.
Okay, thank you. Ben, I'll just give you an opportunity then to if there's anything you wanted to say, to come back on any of those points that Andy's raised.
I would just say very briefly that I think the arrangement where obviously we own the housing stock in Lee Park and Wecock has functioned well to date. So I don't see that there's really any detriment to it staying as it is. And equally, I would question whether a councillor from Clanfield would have the knowledge and expertise to decide on a planning decision in Old Portsmouth.
Thank you, gentlemen. You've both had your second bite of the cherry of that one, which is fabulous. So that actually brings us on to our last question, which is that Portsmouth this year celebrates its 100th birthday. What about Portsmouth makes you most proud? And can I ask that first to Ben?
Without a doubt, our maritime history. I burst with pride whenever I see HMOs Victory and think of the generations of sailors that have left our dockyard to fight for King, Queen and country in the defence of freedom and democracy here and around the world. Seeing the new aircraft carriers come home for the first time was just stunning, and I cannot wait to see the new Type 31 Inspiration class frigates come home to Portsmouth. Really excited for that. I'm a real ship geek when it comes to that sort of thing. Dad served in the Royal Navy for 38 years, and the Navy's in my blood through generations of my family. I'm fiercely supportive of all our armed forces, but I will always have a soft spot for the Royal Navy. They're the lifeblood and the real identity of what Portsmouth is, and it just adds such a unique quality to who we are as a city. I can't think of any better view than coming into Portsmouth and seeing all the grey holes in the dockyard. Although a few more wouldn't go amiss, and having a fully functional destroyer class would be useful too.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ben. So, Andy, what makes you most proud about Portsmouth?
I would sum it up by it's a city of freedom. It stands for freedom. It's at the forefront of freedom. If you think about what's going on in the world, around the world, where bombs are falling on cities, places, families, children, Portsmouth's faced that. It's come through that. And it will hold dear to those freedoms. And that's what it stands for. It stands for the freedoms that I particularly proud of, the freedom to choose your own religion. And in that freedom, you have to defend the right of other people to enjoy a religion that you don't particularly follow. Portsmouth will stand up for people's freedom. There's a fighting spirit of the underdog, isn't there? This is where D-Day pioneers left from. Also, I would say, final thing, it's pioneer of inclusion. People don't know this in Portsmouth, but all the leading, cutting edge, world leading research into people with Down syndrome and their capabilities occurred in Portsmouth, led by Sue Buckley, Portsmouth University, the Sarah Duffin Centre, Portsmouth Down Syndrome, fantastic organisation, but it's got an international reach. People come from all over the world for our expertise. And the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Simon.
Okay, that's lovely. We've somehow come to the end of our questions. So now we're gonna come to our closing speeches. As we're not so tight for time, just to kind of give you a little bit of chance to be a little bit more natural, if that's easier. Rather than 90 seconds, I'll give you up to the 2 minutes if that's necessary, just so that you've got a bit more of a chance to make your case. But this is your, as you say, the chance to make your closing pitch to the electorate of Copnor. So the first closing speech, please, is to Andy. Andy, are you ready for your closing speech?
Yep.
Okay, lovely. Away you go.
Hi. I am a local candidate. I am passionate about my local area. I've lived here for 28 years. I'm chair of my local Labour Party branch. I've supported candidates for many, many years, particularly our amazing MP, Amanda Martin, and Councillor Shah in Cosham and Mary Valley. I pledge to listen. I think that's the most important thing a candidate can offer, to listen without judgment to residents, to act as a beacon to address their problems with the City Council. As a carer, as a full-time carer for many, many years, I think I have particular insight into how the care system in Portsmouth works. And I am settled. That's the thing I want to say. Despite being an outcomer, despite my northern accent and coming from hundreds of miles away in Lancashire, you probably guessed by my accent, and despite being a Boltonian through thick and thin, I am settled here. I've lived here most of my life. I will die here. This is my home. John Pounds is my hero. I think Portsmouth can be a much more livable city. John Pounds walked all over the city with his band of children. He walked right up to Portsdown Hill, and I think that's the sort of city I want to champion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Ben, you ready for your closing speech?
Absolutely.
Okay. Where are you going?
residents have a stark choice on the 7th of May. Hard work, dedication, and integrity from me, a normal guy who lives locally, was raised in Portsmouth, was born here, educated here, I go to church here, and I deal with the same issues that residents do locally. And I fight on those issues every day for the residents of Copnor and Anchorage Park. Or the other choice is more of the same rehashed, unfulfilled promises and dark politics that we have seen in the past few years. From parties that just want power. They don't want to serve residents. They don't want to make a difference. We can't afford to go backwards in this city. We live in difficult times, and there are issues both nationally and locally that need resolution. But the reality of the situation is what we can actually do locally. We cannot deal locally with issues that have to be taken and led on in Westminster. We just can't. It's a fact. People can say as much as they want about electing a certain party locally will resolve an issue. It is just not the truth. If you want someone who will fight for you locally every single day, give absolutely everything, and someone who is utterly passionate about where we're going as a ward, please stand with me again on the 7th of May, and I will not let you down. Thank you.
Okay, lovely.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, so thank you both, gentlemen. And as many know who listen to the podcast, we always have great admiration for everybody who puts themselves forward to stand in local elections and represent the community they serve. So thank you both, gentlemen, for being here today. Which brings us to the end of this show. So you've been listening to the Pompey Politics podcast. I've been Ian Tiny Morris.
And I've been Simon Sainsbury, and our guests today have been Ben Swann, the Conservative candidate for Copnor, Andy Butterworth, the Labour candidate for Copnor. Do join us again at 6:30 this evening if you want to watch the Drayton and Farlington ward hustings, where we'll be joined by Matthew Holland and Simon Bosher from the Labour and Conservative parties respectively. But if you're not joining us on that, we'll be live streaming from Portsmouth City Council through the night at the count on the 7th of May. So again, our thanks to both the candidates for taking part today. You've been listening to the Pompey Politics podcast. See you again soon.
Thank you.
Don't forget to like, follow and comment on Facebook, or comment and subscribe on YouTube. Find us on all the social media platforms: Facebook, X, YouTube, Threads, LinkedIn.